Today's episode is all about sharpening your front kick. Having a front kick that can go in, damage people's stomachs, but not damage your own foot. But first, a word from our sponsor, Optimizers. Many of you will recognize that company because I have been promoting their fantastic magnesium product for the last couple of years. I've had so many messages saying, Gabriel, this works. Thank you so much for recommending it. Well, now I have a new supplement that I want to talk to you about, and that is Mass-Zymes. We're talking about building muscle, and there's a protein lie in the world, which started in the 80s, which I want all of you to understand. It is more protein equals more muscle. And that is not necessarily the case. Why so? It's because your small intestine can only absorb protein that's been broken down into smaller building blocks called amino acids. It doesn't matter if you have 30 grams of protein or 300 grams. If you don't have the right enzymes, enough enzymes, you're not going to be able to break down that protein and use it correctly within your body. That is why it's crucial you take high quality enzymes. The one I trust, the one I love is Mass-Zymes from Optimizers. Mass-Zymes is a full spectrum enzyme formula with more proteins than any other commercially available. Plus it contains all other key enzymes you need for optimal digestion. And you can try it risk-free today. Optimizers has a 365-day, no questions asked, return policy. Head over to buyoptimizers.com/Gabriel and use my promo code Gabriel10 to save. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how we can get that front kick looking really sharp and hopefully improve our balance, increase the distance on the kick, the power, and of course making sure we stop jamming our toes into people's elbows when we throw. Watch this episode, follow along, have some fun, and learn a lot. I want to take you through some of the finer details of the front kick, like what is this leg doing as it raises? How tight should your foot be chambered? Pivot on the other leg, where should your hands be? I want to go through all of that, and we will. But we also want to have some ways at home, most likely, because we can do training at home with other people watching us. We don't feel like we're being critiqued. So I want everybody to have some drills at home that we can do where you can either throw and balance and really work the foot positioning, or we can transition ourselves across the room. I'll make sure I provide you both of those. But first, let's start with how we actually throw the front kick and how we're going to increase that distance, that power, that balance. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is the chamber. We lift our leg up off the floor and we get it to this chamber here. Don't mistake the chamber with a knee. A knee is going to have much different. It's going to have this foot really tight. We're not going to pivot. We're going to elevate. Very different. On this, we lift this leg up. We're going to keep this heel slightly pulled in. This is going to do a couple things. Number one, if it's out here, it's going to have less snap. And number two, it's going to give us a little bit more range in case the person is a little tighter. Sorry, not range, I guess. A little bit more of ability to throw if they're tighter. Right? If they start jamming in and my leg's already this extended, I'm not going to have much force to stop them. But from here, I'm going to have a little bit more snap. So as I lift, I like to bring this heel just in a little bit. It's not going to quite be this 90-degree angle, a little bit tighter. Also, my standing leg, and this is super important, especially if you're trying to create extra distance, I need to master the ability to pivot. But what happens for people very often when they pivot is they do one of two massive errors. Number one, they will pivot, and when they do that, they'll elevate their heel, but they'll stay elevated. And then when they hit the target, they end up getting knocked backwards because it's very hard to stay balanced like this. Or number two, they decide, okay, I'm going to pivot through the heel. Pivoting through the heel is a terrible idea. So we want to, on a front kick, elevate the heel ever so slightly, and as soon as we land in our pivot position, our heel is back on the ground. We're flat-footed once again. This is a fantastic way to come up, be super balanced, but create extra distance. If I extend, you will now see unpivot and pivot. Look at how much more distance I'm able to create with that motion. And again, flat-footed means I'm going to have lots of balance. So I bring my leg up, I pivot, and I have this kicking leg a little bit more snug than the average person might. Now, very often people are wondering, what should I be doing with my hands, and at what point should my hands leave my head? I think right at this point still, if I was going to break it down, it would kind of be hands are still up. You can see one shoulder has taken the lead. The shoulder that matches the kicking leg is in front. That just makes sense. Otherwise, I'm all sort of bent up in the torso. The lead arm will swing down, but not prematurely. I don't want it down when this gets up here, because now if the person rushes me, I'm going to have no defense. So I keep my hand up, and as I start my extension, that's when I'll pull my hand down. Now, yes, maybe we'll have to start a little bit earlier, depending on range and all that, but overall, don't just snap your hand down too early. Now, I want to talk about what the upper body is doing, because we already talked about, oh, how do I create extra distance with the pivot? But if I keep my body upright, very straight, you can see this is my distance. When I start to lean back, look how much more I can create here. And that's very simply because I can counterbalance. If I try and take my leg forward, but I don't lean backwards, you can see I'm gonna fall forward. So I do a little lean back, and as I lean back, you'll watch this knee even extend out. And then from there, I can simply stretch my leg and get that kickoff without lacking distance. Now, one of the biggest things, of course, is always to make sure I'm still protecting myself as I kick. One hand swings, other hand stays up. That is ideal. And if you're more advanced, the swinging arm doesn't necessarily have to go down. It could just come up the center line and become a source of blocking any straight punches, which might come down the middle. That's what I like to do. I'll change it up depending on the situation. They're really far away, I go, there's no way they can punch me, swing my arm down. If there's a little bit of threat, hand stays up and snap it right in there, but be ready for the counter punches. Now, one of the biggest struggles that people have when they throw their front kicks is they say, Gabriel, I keep jamming my foot or my toes into the person, into my sparring partners, and I go right away, I know you're doing something wrong, because I have never done that before, and I know exactly what the problem is. It is the angle at which you are kicking. And many people do not lift their knee high enough when they throw their front kick. So now as I extend and I try to hit the torso, you can see my kick is coming more upwards as opposed to outwards. When I kick upwards, I'm going to catch elbows because, look at, it's in the perfect position here to just jam up people's toes. But if they're in this position and I kick straight in, you're going to catch forearm. I always catch forearm when I throw front kicks, if the person does a good job protecting themselves. Never into here. So when I lift this leg up, you'll note I'm not down at hip level, I'm a little bit more elevated. I keep this leg a little tighter than most people, and now I extend through very early in the kick, so I'm not going to be coming upwards. And foot position is always so important. If you are throwing your front kicks like this, you can just see my foot's kind of pulled, but my toes are straight up. That's no good. We want our foot pointed, but not our toes pointed. Our toes pull back and our foot points. Now from there, I'm getting that maximum range while still striking with the ball of the foot. And that's what we want to use. We do not want to use the heel or the toes. We want to use the ball of the foot, and that is most easily accomplished when I extend my foot as far as it'll go and I pull my toes back. If you are struggling with this motion, you're going, there's no way I can do this. Toes pulled up, but foot pointed, it feels so weird. Simply do this on the ground. Get to a runner stance, tip forward as far as you can. You can now see my foot is pointed just like a round kick, but then I stretch the toes. And I just go as far as I can. Now from here, I'm going to pull my foot off the ground and just front kick. And I'm going to make sure that I'm striking with the correct portion of my foot, not the tips of my toes, but the ball of the foot. You put everything together there that I just taught you, and you're going to improve your balance, you're going to increase your distance, therefore increase your power, and you're going to stop jamming your toes, plus more, because I know we talked about a lot. So hopefully that helps you either sharpen up those front kicks or learn how to do them correctly, in case you were not already. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. As always, train hard. I will see you back here soon for another video.